Welcome to our next episode of Embodied Astrology. I'm Elizabeth Cocoann, and this is Fern. And Fern's going to guide us through what's going on in the cosmos. I'll see if I'm interpreting it right and add suggested practice to help you be in this time period in the most empowered way. Welcome.
Hi, thank you, Coco. So I'm going to talk about the new moon in Cancer that is exact in North America, that is exact on Monday, July 20th at 10:33 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And this is the third lunation that we've had in a row in the Cancer and Capricorn axis of the sign. And it's a very significant lunation for a lot of reasons. One of them is because it is the third in a row. It's rare to have two new moons in a row in Cancer. And so this particular new moon is one to really pay attention to. So I'm going to pop up the chart for the new moon, and we can go ahead and take a look at that. Okay, so there's so much that's very, very significant and interesting about this new moon. And I'm going to start with the fact that we have the sun in Cancer and the moon in Cancer. Every time there's a new moon, it means that the sun and the moon are conjunct. So every new moon is a time of new beginnings, of fresh starts. It's kind of a monthly cosmic reset where we have an opportunity to start fresh in whatever area of life that new moon takes place. So if you know how to do your chart on one of the free chart services like astro.com, or you already have a copy of your chart, it can be really helpful to see what house this new moon falls in. So you're going to be looking for the symbol, the Cancer symbol right here. And you find that, and then you take a look at what house, and that can give you more information. But just in a more general collective sense, with this new moon, we've got the new moon conjunction, sun and moon in Cancer, and the moon is in its own sign. The moon is ruled by the sign of Cancer, so it makes it really strong. Again, this is the second new moon we've had and the third lunation in a Cancer sign. Then what we're looking at is all of these Capricorn planets opposite that new moon. And what really stands out about these Capricorn planets, besides the fact that it's the ongoing stellium, three planets and an asteroid here in the sign of Capricorn, which we've been dealing with all year, but Saturn is in its own sign of Capricorn. So we've got the moon in its own sign of Cancer and Saturn in its own sign of Capricorn. So it makes those opposing energies very strong. So what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about these two different archetypal energies of Cancer and Capricorn, and then take a look at some of the supporting characters in this new moon sort of drama. You've got Mercury, Mars, and Venus, the relationship planet. But first, I want to really focus in on the sun and moon in Cancer and the Capricorn stellium, and just explore how that seems like it's going to be playing out over the next several months. So,
Great.
yeah, as always, Coco, if you've got anything to add or share, I'll be stopping. My dog is in the background getting excited.
Tracy's a darling dog. No, I don't have any questions. I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
Cool. Okay, so Cancer is the archetypal energy of the mother, the nurturing, it's the life giver. And so in this sense, with this new moon, what we're looking at is, where do you find the life in your life? Where do you find the
Sorry, the dog. No, so I have a cat in my background, and Gracie started whining, and the kitty started getting kind of on edge.
So
But
we're
they're having a virtual
experiencing,
relationship without even knowing it right now.
there you go. And we're experiencing kind of the oppositional forces of this new moon in real time with
Mm-hmm.
a dog on my side and a cat on your side. Um, so, so counselor, life-giving. So this new moon is taking a look at where you find the life within your life. So a little example, I took a walk today and I live in a beautiful piece of property that I have yet to fully explore. And I was walking around and noticing all kinds of amazing flowers and trees and a plum tree in full fruit. So I got to pick a bunch of delicious plums and I was really feeling the life within my life. And so it made me think about this lunation. Now, the Capricorn energies opposing it are asking us to narrow in and focus and cull anything that is not really authentic and true and real. So Saturn and Capricorn also, and particularly Saturn in its own sign of Capricorn with this, powerhouse lineup of Jupiter and Pluto on either side, is really emphasizing this practice of getting clear, getting focused, getting committed, tapping into your resiliency and strength. And so we're feeling this pull between Cancer, who wants to just be vulnerable and emotional and cozy, and Capricorn that's like, how are you going to bring that into the real world? What's that going to look like on a practical, um, 3D earth plane kind of reality? How are you going to hold your vulnerability? How are you going to feel safe in the middle of sometimes harsh reality? So these are some of the primal forces that are at work with this lunation. I've got more to say. But
I'd love to jump in
yeah.
now. So with each time we've talked, we've been at a very large astrological point. We've lined up with the new moons and the full moons and also eclipses in a really charged year. When things start stirring in the cosmos in big dynamic ways, my advice is to increase the amount of ritual. Ritual in my sphere, I define as any time that we imbue intention in a moment. So it's a really wide definition, but it's to bring awareness, it's into our regular day-to-day actions. So in this case, it's at this point we might kind of be tired, or at least I noticed yesterday I felt tired of honoring the past, because I feel like that's like what I've been doing, well, a lot for a lot of my life, but also just like the last 6 weeks because of this Capricorn Cancer pull. We need to be really honoring in the most loving, nurturing, feeling way, however that shows up in your life. We need to honor in order to actually be more efficient in culling. So it's like the next chapter, at least for me, and I'll be curious to see what you feel about this, Fern. It's for me, it's the next chapter. It's like digging in deeper and clearing out any unnecessary pulls back, unnecessary pullback that is trapped in my emotional energy, which is Cancer's kind of downfall, Cancer's shadow. And so what I'm doing is I'm visiting anything that comes up in my awareness, either like if I think of something from the past, or if somebody emails, or if a theme comes up from the past, I then know, oh, now's the time for me to do some sort of honoring. if it's writing about it, if it's I've been writing letters and burning them, if it's honoring and then letting go. And what I'm finding in that process is each time I let go, I'll have like a glass of water, go on a little walk, and then I'm actually quite productive in creating systems, in organizing what I might want with, like, for me, it's with the Corona Project and sitting down and looking at a social media calendar, which is obviously never been my forte in the past. And, but there's something it's my organization is fed by how I'm honoring and taking care.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm really glad that you said all that, because that really fits in with one of the threads that stands out to me the most in this lunation, which is fine-tuning and clarifying what part of the past, of your past, your emotional past, or just past patterns and experiences that you want to pull through with you into the future. So Cancer is very much a sign of honoring the past, and sometimes it can get stuck there, which becomes, sentimentality and just kind of being trapped in the past and not allowing yourself to be in the current moment or move forward into the future. So this new moon, because it's complete, like you mentioned, I'm glad you mentioned that too about the eclipses. It completes the eclipse cycle in Cancer and Capricorn. So it is kind of a wrapping up new moon, and there's a paradox of it ends one thing and it begins something else. So I'm really feeling that connection between the past, the present, and the future in this particular new moon as well.
And what I find in general in ritual space, so is if I keep things at an archetypical level, thematic level. What I mean is I'll notice, so this week, because there's a big Chiron influence too with Mars, and that's a whole nother aspect of this, of what's going on with Mars and Chiron in Aries and how that affected my personal chart. But anything that comes up that's problematic at a personal or at a collective level, so even at a collective level of feeling the angst going on. We're both in the United States right now, which is just a wild place to be. It's intense. And right now during Corona, before these elections. And so I'll let my sadness, anger, frustration be triggered with government, just the theme of government.
Mm-hmm.
And how I perceive government working or not. And then, so I'll bring it up, but the piece is that Cancer likes to be cozy. So, and honor in love. And so that's where ritual is symbology. Like if I have a little area where I place things in honor of all governments and imagine love pouring into them and allowing them to reconfigure, that does the same thing. It's or honoring all relationships. Say I have a relationship with a friend and it's similar, the theme's similar to something I've experienced with other friends. That's another opportunity of honoring the pattern that I really am over, that I'm ready to let go of. Mm-hmm. And that can be being part of a government that I'm really not seeing eye to eye with. That could be that thing, or being part of a friendship that it doesn't work in this way, but I honor the whole of the theme. That allows for a lot of power in the movement of what patterns I'm stuck in, especially right now with the Capricorn thing, because we can anchor in new patterns. It's very ripe for that, and they're all still in retrograde, Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn. So it's all still reworking. So it's a really potent time to rework at a fundamental level.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you were mentioning, there's some other players in this planetary party And I want to just take a look at those a little bit too. So what I'm seeing with this new moon lunation and the opposition from all the Capricorn influence, which, as you said, we're really feeling the influence of the collective on our individual lives. So the moon is a day-to-day planet. It's your daily life. It's how you experience your emotions in your day-to-day life. Saturn and Capricorn are more the collective stage, the public stage. Governments, bureaucracies, big businesses. So we're feeling the impact, pretty much all of us, of this bigger stage on our personal day-to-day life. Now, this new moon is an opportunity for us to kind of get right with ourselves in the face of these bigger influences. And part of the cosmos sets this up perfectly, and so part of the story here is that at this new moon we have this chance to begin again and reset, because we're preparing to get more in touch with our Mars and Aries energy. Now, as Coco, you mentioned, there's Chiron. Mars just recently was in a conjunction with Chiron. And now as Mercury has moved direct, it's now at 8 degrees of Cancer. And when it gets to 9 degrees of Cancer, and a couple days after the new moon, probably Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going to be really feeling that influence. Then we're going to have Mercury squaring Chiron, and then Mercury is going to square Mars. So Mercury, the planet of communication, and a very emotional sign that has to do with feeling all of our feelings, but also feeling what our experience has been of our past and how that shaped us. And also speaking to issues particularly pertaining to women or people who identify as women, and just themes of motherhood. Cancer is also a sign very much associated with children, and we're really seeing that in the public eye quite a bit about this issue of, are the children going back to school? So that's going to meet up in a square aspect, and a square aspect is very much related to Aries energy because it's got that, active, fighting, kind of conflictual type of feeling. So our communication meeting up with our desire to move and act, and then with Chiron, the parts of us that are that wounded healer, wounded warrior, wounded in the area of standing up for ourselves. How do we stand up? How do we fight? How do we use our will in ways that are really going to be effective? So that's part of the story too. And now one of the helper aspects that's showing up is a sextile between Mars and Venus. So there's been a fair amount of challenges that have come up in relationships over the last 6 months, just because of the Capricorn influence on Libra. And Libra is the sign of relationships, and we had Venus retrograde at the beginning of the year, and some stuff happening with Juno, the asteroid that rules relationships. And this Venus-Mars sextile, they're in a sextile is an aspect that got some juicy creativity. It's got some life to it. And so our relating energies and our, making things happen, our love and lust are in this fruitful relationship. So this can bring a little bit more ease and just interesting happenings in the realm of relationship as this new moon unfolds.
Mm-hmm. So as someone with a lot of, Sun, Moon, and Chiron in Cancer's house, I have Sun, Moon, and Chiron in Cancer's house, and Mars, Mercury, and Venus in Aries. I'm familiar with this dynamic need to both be cozy, emotive, let go, and direct when need be, but then not. Aries is a tricky sign because it's really important. But Mars in Aries and Chiron in Aries together with that square, it's tricky because there's when hi Gracie, when she's so cute, when Aries wants to move, it's almost like every part of me will align for that movement. And it's so it's gorgeous in relation to action and leadership and trailblazing. I am so thankful for that aspect in me because of that. But it's taken me 41 years to figure out how to chill out and water. Everything has to go slow. Like if I'm going to write some sort of confrontational email to someone, I've learned, and I learned this many, like 10 years ago, that I needed to have it wait 3 days, go through many a times of me in ritual. So this like in ritual meaning even just crying to release the energy, or honoring something to release the energy, honoring something to embrace the energy and then have it release. It needs holding, mellow, chill, and then to revisit thoughts. And this is with and actions, because it's with Mercury. Mercury is a little bit confused in Cancer. It's not Mercury is, I don't know, it's just a pretty emotional sign for Mercury to be in. When it's squaring Mars and Aries, that could be really confusing. And so is that?
Yeah, I would. Mercury is actually very strong in Cancer. Because I've known people who have Mercury in Cancer who are able to retain information like facts, from history that, go back years. Cancer is that crab and it holds on. So what we've got with that Cancer Aries tension is tension between two cardinal signs. And the cardinal signs, like you're talking about Aries, that is so well put with your description of Aries. It's like that, I can feel your Aries. It is that life force. It's what brings spring. It's what creates life. But when you let that force, that fire burn uncontrolled, it can destroy. So this tension, just backing up to that, the tension between the Cancer and the Aries force is Cancer wants to feel safe. It wants to feel protected. It wants to be able, Cancer creates the home. It's the nest. It's the fortress where we allow ourselves to drop our guard and be vulnerable and be little children again, and also be the mother. So Aries is a fighter. So we're seeing the archetype of that mother meet the archetype of the warrior.
And let's talk about safety for a minute in this global climate.
Yeah.
So safety for me is in this present moment. Especially, this is just a bizarre time. I live all over the world, and to have landed in this, I'm an American, but to have landed here during this time and not be able to leave, I have to be very careful about going to the future, imagining what the future will be like, because I know how important feeling safe and taken care of is for my cells. Really, we're a traumatized species. So the safety, feeling safe, loved, taken care of is number one for you to do for you. In order to facilitate deeper work, that's a fundamental piece, but tricky. So it's my suggestion when you're trying to work these energetics is that you choose to not go into the future unless you happen to have a wild thought of seeding utopia, dreams for the future, of ideas of how things could work out, what if best case scenarios. That facilitates a sort of safety and the comfort. But if you're not there, then stay out of the future, stay off of social media, stay off the news just for the time where you're wanting to work this energy, because you want the safety is here, noting that in this moment I am safe
Yeah.
in this moment. And that's where the work with this transit can begin.
Yeah, the only thing I would say, just because I'm feeling that there is this piece because of the new moon, where it's the beginning of this new cycle, that I agree with you. Like it, when you're projecting into the future, that can bring about some feelings of not feeling safe because the future is so unknown at this point. But I would like to just to focus in on this piece of bringing the parts of you from the past that you want to bring with you into whatever the future might unfold as, to just flag that piece of it.
Well, and so I'd say it's the order of ops is pull out of the anxiety about the future.
Yeah.
Notice where your fear is of the future and pull that back
Yes.
in order to create a safe place to honor what's been.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And once the honoring, and that can be, I mean, you can do that in any way. You can be chopping veggies and just honoring your past, honoring our past,
Yeah.
the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it.
Yeah.
And honoring. And then though for me, there's a tipping point that I can feel internally where I feel available to dream big dreams again.
Yeah.
So this is for I've noticed a shift, and I don't know if it's the Aries piece or coming on the Mars and Aries or coming in a new moon, but where I'm able to see potentiality more than I was 2 weeks ago, especially at a personal level. For a while there, I wasn't able to really access potential threads of fabulous outcomes. I just needed to be in this present moment. But what I'm hearing you say, friend, is it is a time to plant seeds. But make sure if you're planting the seeds that you've done your honoring, you've called your anxiety back, you've moved it out in whatever way you need to, you've honored the past, felt it, and then that's when you dream up things and real dream up ideas of business plans or ideas of school plans. It's Capricorn, it's infrastructures, like, right, if dreaming real earthly dreams.
Yes, dreaming up new structures for government, new structures for business, dreaming up, Capricorn is create the system that enable us to function as a civilization or as a society. And with all these big planets moving through Capricorn, and in particular aspecting the United States natal chart, we are in the process of transforming and revisioning a lot of those systems. And this retrograde, those 3 planets in Capricorn retrograde are really emphasizing that digging deeper into the past to heal and purge everything that that is holding us back as a country, as humanity. We need to look at it before we can move forward. So that retrograde planet is really emphasizing that. Yeah.
The idea that everything's a part of a system. I love, I maybe say the word system too much, but I love systems, and it's meaning like how I was thinking of this when I was packing from my family's lake cabin to come into town, and the amount of times I packed in the last like 5 years is hilarious. Like but it's all systemized to where I just kind of hang out and do my thing, and then at a certain point, like the cat's going into his little backpack, everything's in the car, and I'm just up there, and I almost haven't thought about it because my system of packing that I created, it's just an example, but is so it has a purpose, a place, and brings me joy. That's my motto for systems of it. It's purpose, place, joy, and then and that said, it can be anything. We need creative ideas. We need to all be dreaming outlandish systems that work, and then just trying them out for fun. Like try out different ways of brushing your teeth, or you know, whatever it is, packing or unpacking, getting dressed, just so you can feel that your body and your being knows that you're malleable and open to receive new ways of organizing that are really congruent with us in our future.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that last part too, because that reminded me something that I maybe haven't emphasized enough as we've been talking about these two different energies of the signs, the archetypal energies of Cancer and Capricorn. But Cancer is the sign of the imagination. It's the, you know, the crab who swims in the ocean, and so it can create new forms of life. Again, that mother energy, but it also can create new ways of being in the world. So using our imagination to create these new structures. And any kind of opposition, in this case, this new moon opposition to the Capricorn, any kind of opposition demands integration of the two opposites. So it's not about just staying in the Cancer zone, and it's not about just staying in the Capricorn zone. It's about moving between those two areas.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I love you've. I think you've said to me before that it's about how big of an embrace you can make of both the structure. It's my amplitude to surf these waves increases the more I embrace the cozy taking care, and the more I embrace the system structures. And the wider my embrace of both, the more I like really like ride out this wave well.
Yes, I like to think of opposition as a yoga stretch, you know, or any kind of stretch really that feels good. Because when you're stretching and you're really mindfully stretching, and you know your awareness is in your body and you're feeling just the process of what it feels like to stretch in that way, you expand your potential for flexibility, you expand your strength, you're stretching. And that's the process of an opposition, is to stretch and grow and expand our potential and our capacity.
And then one piece that's different, layered, and I think we're coming to the end of our time.
Yeah.
But is the square, the Chiron piece. Just want Chiron is such a gift. But we both, Fern and I both, I do a core energetic alchemy. It's a phrase I've kind of coined. In yours, alchemical astrology. We're both into, and just kind of define it, sitting within what is, not trying to jump off to the next thing, but sitting with what is until it starts to become malleable and shift into something different. And that there's a lot of power in that, because we're not trying to look away from what is and just move on. We're really utilizing the energy of what is. So that said, Chiron is about your wounded healer, that which is ready for healing, deep healing. But just as a heads up, it comes up really ouchy. It's first, whenever Chiron's around, and I've Chiron conjunct my sun, so it's been ouchy a lot. It's the ouchy. It's easy to get sidetracked and just want out of the ouchy. So just keep, like, be on top of it. Know that ouchie's coming, and when it does, be like, yeah, identified it. Now what's time for? Okay, it's time for me to be cozy, feel safe, really emote, feel the feels, and then act. You know, and then see if I can see a clear direction.
Yes. And I would add to that, because Mercury is involved, that to voice it, to voice it in writing and speaking, talk to yourself, cry, scream, whatever you need to do to move that throat chakra energy, because Mercury is the throat chakra. And so we're being asked with this Mercury, this approaching Mercury, Chiron, Mercury, Mars square that's coming up next week, kind of on the heels of the new moon, to voice our emotion in a way that that feels safe, that we're not putting ourselves in the pathway of being attacked. So it's finding that right balance.
And it's a good time to practice. So this is right after Fern and I talked earlier this week, and I went away and did my Fern homework and was writing a lot that's not sent. That's not that really because I just have I have one sort of conflict right now that I'm really wanting to create peace with, that would takes a little of my input. Instead of hurrying it, which is Mars's gig, is like get it done, get it. Instead of that, it's like I'm letting it just be, and then revisiting after I feel cozy and have done some work, and then I'll write. And I notice each time I write, I actually get more clear, kind, but not like I'm because there can be a tendency to either be really fiery or not fiery and not say what's needed to say. And so to find that balance takes time of working the process.
And I have to ask you, what do you do with these letters after you write them?
Well, I've been doing, so sometimes I want them digitally. And so I'll keep them in a document, and then I cull through them once I'm clear. That's one thing I did. Another thing I did is I created a sacred space. So that, for me, that's opening up to the benevolent universe. And there's kind of a list of beings and archetypes and that I open up to, because I don't want to be in charge. I want other beings. I want to be supported by all that is, because I feel a little trapped by my human perception. And then, so I opened up, zoned in, and then brought up the heated situation and just wrote and drew just whatever came. And I draw with my right hand, I draw with my left. Switching. So I was making sure that I was just stewing in the energy of the situation, and wrote symbolically in this new journal on a little piece that I ripped out, and then went and
And that's where the Aries came in, right? There you go.
yeah. Well, I think there's an element for me where I'm like, oh, thank God I got to burn that, because there's a piece where it's so nice to honor the past, and it's really important. Forgiveness and love and like generosity. How can I see this differently? And then at a certain point, you're just like, okay,
well, and that's
start again.
I think what you're describing is really a perfect embodiment of this Mercury in Cancer, Mars in Aries, Chiron in Aries, because they're joined, Mars and Chiron still. Because you reflected on your emotions, you reflected on your past, you gave voice to it with the Mercury piece, and then you took some fiery action. So I think that's a really lovely way of embodying these energies that's life affirming and, going to bring some positive growth.
Yeah. And to recap, you can do it however you want. It's just honoring, torch. I feel like bringing my animal into it. We're about done, right? Oh,
I wonder if Gracie can see the cat. That's funny. All right. So it feels like we got a pretty good roundup of this new moon. So I think we can wrap up. I just wanted to flag for anybody who's watching this that I have a class starting on Thursday, July 23rd, Be Your Own Astrologer. So I would love it. Anybody who's interested in learning about how to be your own astrologer, there'll be a link under the posting of this video, and you can check that out.
And Fern's a great teacher. And I finally started, the Corona team, the Corona project team, and I started an Instagram, which means that we're doing an Instagram calendar to try to post every day or 6 days a week. So keep an eye out for there, because I'm making a lot of little snippets of free material that then have bigger free material on the Corona Project website.
Wonderful. Okay, well, saying goodbye to you and Leo Azul, and have a good evening.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.